Hey guys, welcome into Suite Level Access. A little bit of a different setup today. The show is just going to be solely me and my buddy here, the X-Cup Trophy. We are at Cooper's, one of the best barbecue spots in Austin. I tell you, you got to come try it out. The brisket is my favorite. Intend on being knee-deep in barbecue at some point in the show. And I got a special guest for you as well. It is not just going to be me. We are missing Alex Saxon. He's behind the cameras today. But we're going to have a very trusted guest on the show. We've got Mike Olvera of the Austin Sound. Obviously, Coach fell short of his goal, but we're going to talk about, the coaches know our game better than anybody. So we're going to talk about the playoffs, what happened there for both games. But more importantly, we're going to talk to Coach O about the X-Cup. What can we expect from this Atlanta versus Chicago matchup, which, by the way, was a matchup that yours truly called on the last episode of SLA. And I believe our X-Cup matchup is going to be Chicago versus Atlanta in Austin on September 10th. Bring the bar. Sorry, Coach O. So anyways, let's get right into it. We are at Cooper's here in downtown Austin, right on Congress. Sitting next to me, here he is, Coach Olvera of the Austin Sound.
Well, welcome back. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Coach, are you still in mourning or what's going on?
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been tough. Yeah, I mean, we're already on the off season, so we've kind of put that behind us a little bit. It'll stay there for a little while. You got to let it linger.
Tough way to lose that game. Let's touch briefly on those playoff games, right? We'll start with that Chicago versus Seattle matchup. Yeah. Went down to the wire, 34-33, as good as it gets. Talk us through, these coaches better than anybody, so talk us through that game.
The fans got what they wanted. Yeah, I mean, we all did that night, but what caught me most was execution on both sides of the ball for both teams. Yeah. They're going to be prepared. Chris and Sid, they get their teams ready to go. I thought there was going to be a little bit more of a defensive struggle, but what did surprise me was towards the end of the game, down the stretch, the teams, the lack of execution or some of the smaller mistakes caught up with Seattle. And that's all it was. I was surprised they were in the deficit at halftime. I didn't expect that at all. Yeah. And I don't think Chris did either. And I talked to him after the game about it. That was a surprise.
Look, I think at the end of the day, I don't think anybody's taken Chicago as seriously as they should have a year, because I think a lot gets down to quarterback play. When you've got a great football player at that position, it's easier to sell your team in that product. Stephanie Raymond doesn't have the best form, so a lot of people look at that offense and go, how successful can it be? But it's not just about that offense. It's that defense.
That's right.
The defense, I think, has really carried that team.
That's right.
And they went up against a buzzsaw, in the Seattle offense. That's not an easy offense to defend against,
not at all.
Right?
Not at all. Chris is a great offensive mind, and we all know that. And he's going to put a great game plan together. But when you anchor that defense with people like Emma Vanderhayden, they're going to come to play. And she's a typical classic football player. Yeah,
she's a blue collar, bring your lunch pail to work type player, which is typical Chicago football, obviously. But I think the two other outstanding people on that defense are Labrinthia Murdoch in the secondary. She just has a nose for the football. She's done it all season. And then you've got Krista Campa, in the middle. So I think that defense is very formidable. And I think that defense is going to lead them to a championship. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, your game, moving on to that, 34-32. And that was, again, a back-and-forth game. You said it earlier. These playoff games were instant classics. We're all going to look back at these 10 years from now and go, wow, that was our start. Where could we go from here? But 34-32 went all the way down the wire. This was the final play. Angel buying time in the pocket, finding Tashay Winfrey. Although she's double covered, she had a shot at it. But before we get into that play, let's talk about that game. What was your impression of it?
Yeah, so, Coach Robinson, great team, great coach, great organization. They're such a class act, and they're always going to be well prepared. They were ready to play. So were we, though. I mean, I think that our team was a lot more focused in this one than we had been in the past. And we were dialed in like I've never seen this before. We had a great game plan put together. We went back and we were up. We were up by 10. At that level, it comes down to the execution. I said that before. So we looked at the tape afterwards and just saw some critical mistakes at key points in the game that cost us. We improved from the first time that we faced Atlanta on some things. Our red zone offense executed the way it had not before.
And Chris Daniels, she came through.
That's true.
We always knew that was the
That's
X
true.
factor in that first matchup that you guys lost 50-34.
Yeah.
Chris Daniels made an impact in this playoff game, but honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's what happened with you guys in the second half. Your offense didn't score a single point in 20 minutes of football.
Yep.
You obviously can't do that in this game and win a football game.
Yeah, and I think the quarterback took it hard.
Yeah.
She had a rough game. She had a tough day at the office. Not very characteristic of her play. She's a great quarterback. She's the best quarterback in women's football, in my opinion. And I'll stay with her. I'll back her no matter what. But going down the stretch, we didn't put a drive. We put a drive together and throw a pick, or like you said, hey, second half, the offense doesn't score.
Yeah.
That can't happen at this level. And
Whitney Palmer can't be your biggest offensive threat in the half of football. Palmer was a wreck loose out there. Yeah. She had an incredible, well-deserved for Defensive Player of the Year nomination. But, look, I think, again, the product was great. It's tough as a coach and as an athlete to step outside of we lost. But I think if all of us as a first-year product can step back and go, I'm just proud of what we put out on the field, it really opens the door to a lot of people looking to invest in this product going, I want to see it grow. Now, if we put a game out there that was 72-10, that's tough to sell, right?
Sure.
You guys put on a great product, and obviously it's not the end of the road. Angel is a young quarterback still, even though all the years she's logged in. She started at 18.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of football left in her. I think for you guys, honestly, this way better than I do, is there's got to be a threat of a run game.
Sure.
I think that's what bit you guys in this game, that, they pinned their ears back, got after Angel, double cover Bills, and that's how they're going to work it, And
the only run threat we had went down on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
So that's tough. We understand that too, and our focus for the offseason, bigger, faster, stronger, get it. But the O-line is something that I've got to take some personal responsibility about. We've got to get a little bit more
physical
aggressive
up front.
We've got to get meaner with sizes there, but we're kind of nice up front.
Well, and you can't because look, these teams have gotten very big. Look at the teams that have had the ultimate success. Atlanta and Chicago are in Austin because they're the most physical teams in the league.
Agree.
They have the size, they have the stature, they're willing to get after it.
Agreed.
And I think the finesse is only going to get you so far. Playoff football, just like the NFL, you got to have at least the threat of a run game, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the X Cup now. Move on from the playoffs for a second and talk about this matchup. Atlanta versus Chicago, both coming in undefeated, arguably the best teams in the league. Maybe not arguably. They are undefeated. So talk to us about, first off, if you're Atlanta attacking Chicago, what's the best way to do it?
I think you need to get after the quarterback, keep an eye on her, because I think that their defense over the course of this season may not have done such a great job spying that quarterback. Maybe Denver showed some of that when they played Denver, but if they don't spy that quarterback, she's going to beat him with her feet. And Raymond can move, and even though we've stated about her accuracy and her ability to drop into the pocket and throw, she's a threat because she can get out of the pocket, and they've got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So the run game for Chicago put them where they're at too at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They know how to manipulate the defense and create the opening for that running back to just let loose and run. I think that they'll be okay up front because the front three for Atlanta are pretty tough. So there's a combination of two things. And,
now let's flip the script on the opposite side. You just played Atlanta, so you're going to know better than anybody. How do you beat this team?
You got to stop their run game.
Yeah.
If you don't stop that run game, it's a nightmare. I think that we performed better on defense and created some turnovers that we didn't capitalize on. And there's the other key. Chicago's going to need to create a turnover per half. Either that's a stop on downs or it's an outright turnover to get them that edge, because Dane manages the game very well. He knows exactly how to manage the game and take possession of the ball at those key moments in the game to keep the momentum. But you've got to stop the run game. If you can force that young quarterback to make a decision, you may stand a better chance than letting those horses run. Because if you don't, he'll chew the clock up on you and score points, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, look, and I think that's what makes it interesting. These two teams are so similar in the way that they were built. They were built, again, with size and stature in a physical run game and very tough blue-collar defense, right? They're carbon copies of one another. So it's going to come down to execution. Who's got the better game plan coming in? Yep. And certainly I think Dane Robinson obviously has the experience over Sid Lewis, so you got to give Atlanta the nod there, simply based on experience. And then it's, when you look at quarterback play, I don't know. Bailey Hodgins is great, but she's a younger quarterback. She doesn't have a lot of experience. Stephanie Raymond, as much as we doubted her, I personally doubted her most of this season, she's proved us wrong every opportunity. And I'm not just talking about going out and throwing for 300 yards or what have you, but it's, hey, when the game is on the line and you need a quarterback to step into that and engineer that final game-winning drive. She did it against Seattle in the regular season, and she did it to Seattle in the playoffs. Yeah. So, again, I think it goes back to her form. She doesn't look the type of a franchise quarterback. So a lot of people discount her abilities, but I think her legs, obviously you alluded to it, is a huge threat. I don't know why more teams do not assign a spy to her, like Correct. you were saying.
Correct. Yeah.
So, I think the key for Atlanta is going to be Stephanie Raymond, as you mentioned, and do what they do best. That two-headed run force of Lauren Ziegler, that thunder and lightning type approach, and Jessica Salazar.
Yeah, it's tough to defend against.
Give us a score. Give us a score on this game.
I mean, I think it comes down to which of those quarterbacks can command their offense better than the other with less mistakes, but I'm going to give the nod to Atlanta. I'm going to give it to Atlanta by a touchdown, 35-28.
35-28. Yeah, that sounds, I think that's the score I gave for the playoffs. That's a very popular score here on Sweet Level Access.
It's not going to be, like you said, these caliber football teams, you're not going to see a blowout. It's not going to happen, but I think
35-28. I like it. I mean, the defenses have been giving up some points here in the playoffs, and as good as they are, they're going to bend. This is a small field. We've got Alex Saxon. You haven't made an appearance. You got to make an appearance on the show and give us your score, man. It's bad luck for you to not make an appearance at least. What do you got, Saxon?
Come on, man.
Remember, this is your camera.
What you got?
He's so politically correct all the time.
I know.
Talking to the mic there, genius.
We're going to go with, this is crazy. Okay, I'm going to go Chicago 42, Atlanta 36.
Wow. All right.
Okay.
Interesting.
Even more points.
Interesting, yeah.
Even more points. Okay, fair enough. I think I'm the only one. You did pick, you said Chicago, correct?
That's the first time I picked that.
Yeah, so that could be bad news.
What are you doing out there, man?
I'm going to stay that course, though. I'm going to say Chicago as well. I'm going to say Chicago 38 and Atlanta 32.
Okay.
I think that's going to be your score of this game. But look, I think Chicago comes in as the favorite for a reason. They've executed all season. Not that Atlanta hasn't, but I think Chicago's been just slightly more dominant about it, right? So what we're going to do now, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go down. The reason I'm wearing a T-shirt and Coach is just not ready for this.
It's just me.
We're going to get into some barbecue here in a second here at Cooper's Barbecue on Congress in Austin. Show you how it's made, more importantly, how it tastes. And we'll do all that when we come back. Sweet Level Access after this.
How you doing today? All right, we've been to Cooper's before?
All right, welcome back. Sweet Level Access. We are downstairs at Cooper's in Austin. The flavor's in the air. This is our good friend here, Mo. Now, what draws people to this place? I hear Cooper's is the spot.
Yes, sir. The flavor, the consistency, the whole facade about this place. You can go any other barbecue place around, you won't get this atmosphere nowhere else.
Now, what's the most popular meats here? I mean, I'm looking around.
I'm not going to brag at all, but every last meat you see is our popular meat. You know, for the home of the big chop. That's a 2-inch pork chop. We actually put that on an open pit. We grill it with a dry rub, and it's all consistency. Our beef brisket right here, you got a little lean on here.
I could not live here and not be 300 pounds. This is amazing. We're going to dig into some of this meat here in a second. Hey, thanks for having us, Mo. This was awesome. Thanks for joining us, Coach O. Sweet Level Access. That wraps the 2022 season. So we will see you next year.